Sean, thank you for joining me here today. Looking forward to kind of talking about our history together and really the shared sustainability mission that we have going forward.
So Chris, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Good to see you. And we absolutely, at TE, we value our relationship with Waldom. Yeah, so from a sustainability perspective, Chris, TE very focused on, from a purpose and mission perspective, creating a safer, more sustainable, productive and connected world. When I think about our sustainability goals, this program with Waldom has a huge impact on that. When I think about some of the, and TE is very proud of the recognition we've received around our ESG performance, awards from the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, S&P, and a number of other awards related to our focus on sustainability. We've got some pretty aggressive targets around greenhouse gas emission reductions, hazardous waste reduction, and even freshwater management reduction. So we are extremely committed to and focused on sustainability.
Yeah, it certainly appears from the outside looking in, you guys have a strong connection to your global impact, especially in a sustainability standpoint. And it kind of feels like you're a step ahead in preparing and being in front of those initiatives. Congrats to your team and look forward to you guys being successful and us being a part of that. Obviously we look forward a lot and we talk about, the future of what we do, but we look back over the last 3 years and I have to think it's been, if not one of the most unusual business cycles we've all been through in our history. You've been around the industry for several years now. What's your take on this whole period?
It has been a crazy ride for sure through the pandemic and then, into this more challenging market environment. If you think about the pandemic environment, when we look at how the business performed, I think well above initial expectations. And the growth was primarily driven around consumer spending. Everybody was stuck at home. So, spending on consumer electronics, home renovations, appliances, that drove a lot of the growth. Certainly from a supply chain perspective, our customers got, I'll say, a little bit panicked around supply chain and supplier management. So a lot of focus there, and we're probably paying a little bit of the price for that now. And then as we came out of the pandemic, we saw everybody wanting to, get out of the house and move around. So commercial air has taken off. Automotive's been pretty steady and pretty resilient. So, a lot of interesting kind of market dynamics around that whole pandemic environment and then coming out of it. And I think some of the things we've learned is it has become very clear our customers want to have much more control and visibility into their supply chains, their supplier communities, and really lean in with strategic suppliers and understand how they're going to be supported. I think it's also been interesting around how customers have wanted to be engaged. We all had to work via Zoom or Microsoft Teams through the pandemic. It worked extremely well. But I think what we've learned coming out of that is, certainly engineers want to be engaged more digitally. It's become more of a hybrid selling model, providing those configuration tools, digital learning, digital engagement, self-serve types of options have become extremely important and critical. So we're certainly focused on that at TE. I know Waldom is focused on similar kinds of things, but there's no question we learned a lot in a very short period of time through the pandemic and now coming out of it into a more challenging market environment.
You hit some really great points in there. It is really interesting to now look back and see what the pandemic did and almost reshaped how we do business and how we interact and our future forward. Luckily for you and I, as manufacturers and sellers of components, most of those solutions are electronics. So really looking forward to the next rebound and really going into the next growth cycle.
We saw it coming, but the pace at which we've had to adapt much faster than we anticipated.
Yeah, it really seems like coming out of this, one of the definite changes is the speed with which we move, right? Before we had to wait maybe for an on-site meeting, and now it's, hey, we can jump on Teams in 10 minutes sometimes. And even you and I have had some of those impromptu meetings with the team, but I think it's made us all a lot more productive.
Absolutely. And I think, just finding what's that kind of equilibrium now, what's the right balance as it relates to face-to-face engagement versus that digital engagement. And we're still on that journey, but we've definitely learned a lot.
It's been a really interesting and I guess I'll say strange 2023, especially when you look back on what happened in 2022 and before. How is TE handling this unusual environment?
So your question around 2023, it has been interesting. It's been challenging. We've certainly seen unique situations around the globe, geopolitical challenges, et cetera. I would say supply chain challenges are much improved, although there are still pockets of challenge. And then we've got, as you well know, we've got inventory challenges, right? The different cyclical nature of the different markets we play in has certainly caused us some challenge and problem. And then just managing through the inventory that built up through the COVID pandemic time period certainly has been a challenge in 23. Weaker end customer demand, weaker consumer demand, and the associated challenges with that. So yes, it's been an interesting and challenging 23.
Absolutely. And hopefully we're all moving now from a reactive position and dealing with those inventory challenges and starting to look forward. Hey, as this market rebounds and gets back on the growth path that we've all become accustomed to, making sure we're all prepared for that. From your perspective, if you had a crystal ball, what does that recovery look like? Where are we headed?
Well, great question. I do not have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I think we all do. But I think, again, I think some of these markets are in very different kind of cycles. If you look at the aerospace, defense, marine markets, more optimistic, more growth and strength there. Our industrial markets a little more challenged, weaker demand there. We see some recovery in the datacom markets and some of the other markets we serve. Automotive seems to be pretty resilient. But we've come through, again, as you said, we've come through a very interesting few years. At some point, there is going to be a correction in the market. I think we're into that now. We've seen a significant rise in interest rates that's definitely having an impact. The inflationary pressures and again, the geopolitical situations, number one being the situation with Russia and Ukraine having an impact. We've got our challenges, but I certainly see pockets of opportunity, and I think Waldom sees that as well. And we'll continue to work together on those opportunities.
One of the great things about TIA Connectivity and the broadness of your business is it allows you to kind of balance those different business units and where they're at in those different cycles as you go forward. And a lot of times Waldom, we want to be that proactive source, especially for your distributor partners, putting the right inventory in the right place and the right quantities for them. If you look back on how long we've been together, Sean, do you know when and where did the TE and Waldom relationship start?
So it started in 2010, which is a few years before I joined the TE Channel organization. And I know we've had a very productive journey, I'll call it, with Waldom. We value our strategic partnership relationship with Waldom. I think if you look back on just from a scrap recovery perspective, that program started in 2010. I think we all had a lot of questions around it, and it's performed extremely well. I think we're both appreciative of that performance. Yeah,
absolutely. That distributor scrap allowance program is a big part of certainly our partnership, but our overall presence in the market. And I think we can both agree that if we looked back 13 years ago, no one may have predicted how strong of a program this is and could be for both of us. After those 13 years, clearly something's working in that. What's been the focus of our partnership historically, and where do you see us going forward?
Yeah, so if I think about TE's purpose and mission, we're focused on creating a safer, more sustainable, productive, and connected world. And when you think about our relationship around managing the scrap recovery piece as part of our, environmental sustainability and governance initiative, it's a really critical, important, element to what we do together. If you look back to prior, before 2010, I'm not sure, how we were managing these scrap recovery elements, but I would think that a lot of this stuff probably ended up in a landfill and potentially as hazardous waste. And this program has certainly had a significant positive impact from a sustainability and waste management perspective. TE has set some pretty rigorous goals around greenhouse gas emission reductions, hazardous waste reductions, even fresh water, use and management. From a sustainability perspective, this relationship aligns very closely with our ESG goals.
Yeah, I think we can both agree that no matter what was happening before 2010 and beyond, we've really given a lot of these components a second life. I actually can confirm that the Waldom programs, not just with TE, but with all our partners, we've saved almost 4 billion components from those landfills. And as we all continue our focus on ESG initiatives and expected requirements that may come for all of us in the future, programs like the Waldom program are going to be an asset for both of us going forward.
A lot of these parts that we're working together on to ensure that they're managed properly are very saleable parts. They may not be saleable with the distributor that has them at any given time, but managing them back through this program has a very key impact on our business together. So, valuable program.
And we appreciate the confidence that you guys have in Waldom and making us your partner for this program, both now and going forward. I think as we learn more about how to sell products and really support our channel partners, being able to do it through these types of programs are really beneficial for both of us.
Absolutely. And if I think about just new customer acquisition, right? These parts that come back through the program are enabling us to acquire new customers together and really have a positive impact on our business.
So Sean, obviously we appreciate the confidence that you have in Waldom and being your partner for your distributor scrap program and really eliminating that waste. What's your view on how this program has performed?
The program has performed extremely well, probably well above expectations. I was really surprised that we've seen almost 30,000 parts returned through the scrap recovery program this year to date through the end of September. So I was pleasantly surprised, and the program is yielding a great benefit. I think we're north of $200 million managed through the program since inception. So a very successful program.
I think if we rewind the clock back to 2010, certainly didn't expect these results, but really proud of the partnership we have, and quite openly, we thank you for that partnership. Especially after 13 years, we really sincerely appreciate the TE and Waldom partnership, and we look forward to continuing that partnership as we go forward.
So thank you, and likewise here. But I would say, this relationship is well beyond a scrap recovery program. So we appreciate the relationship with Waldom around strategic MOQ investments that are helping us drive business with our distribution network, driving customer acquisition and profitable growth for both of us.
Well, Sean, thank you for joining me today. I loved talking about the initiatives that TE has underway. I'll echo again, I'm excited what the future holds and appreciate being a partner for you going forward.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity.